Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for sharing results and vision for your country. Also very impressive, without any manuscripts, so eloquent, laying out your visions. Last year, foreign direct investments to Pakistan increased with 70%. I guess this is also related to the fact that you alluded to in your speech that the security situation is much better. I think also the energy supply is much more predictable. So what is your interpretation of this increase in FDIs? Do you want more FDIs? And are you pretty sure that you're going to be able to keep the security situation at this level and also further develop and improve when it comes to predictability on the energy side?
Well, you know, in 2019 was the safest year in Pakistan since 9/11. And when Pakistan participated in the US war on terror, the security situation deteriorated, and for a time, you know, there were bomb blasts going on, and there was no question of foreign investment coming in. There were foreign advisories from various countries. So we had a real dip in foreign, as understandable if you have a security situation that bad. So 2019 was the most, the safest year after 9/11. And that was reflected in our tourism. And between 2018 and 19, our tourism doubled in 1 year. And really, this is the great potential of Pakistan in tourism, which is untapped completely. Because Pakistan has historical tourism. It has that 5,000-year-old Indus Valley civilization, the Mohenjo-daro civilization, which is one of the oldest. Then it has religious tourism. It has some of the most sacred sites for Hinduism, Sikhism, Sufism, and then Buddhism. There's some, the center of Buddhist civilization was the Gandhara, which is north of Pakistan. So we have religious tourism. And then the mountain tourism in Pakistan, almost half the peaks, over 24,000 feet, are in Pakistan. So it is untouched as yet, and our concentration for providing jobs to people and improving the growth rate is now on tourism. In fact, without us doing anything, tourism has doubled, and people are finding it difficult to have hotels or places to stay. So we are now inviting tourism investment in tourist resorts.
So maybe I'm at least one of the few Norwegians that have visited up in the Swat Valley. It's beautiful, and you also have beautiful other places. I think Swat Valley used to be the honeymoon place, even in Pakistan. Is it now also you see tourism also in these areas where the Pakistani Talibanis used to run, and you're not concerned that Pakistani Talibans can come back, and you're pretty sure that this is on safe footing?
You see, in Pakistan now, virtually there's no terrorism in Pakistan, and I have to pay tribute to our security forces. They did such a brilliant job, and it was for a while, we went through a really difficult period, but thanks to them, there is hardly any terrorism. I mean, you have the odd problem, but you know, that you have anywhere in the world. Problem now is we need peace in Afghanistan and stability. Whatever terrorism now comes into Pakistan every now and then is from Afghanistan. And that's why this peace process in Afghanistan is very important. The quicker Afghanistan settles this peace and stability, it's not just only good for Pakistan from the terrorism point of view, but also the connectivity to Central Asia, and which will benefit both Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Are you, Mr. Prime Minister, optimistic that there can be a deal between Taliban and the government in Kabul? Americans are very much involved in this. You're also contributing. Is it possible this year? And do you think Taliban will also engage in a deal that will respect the rights of girls' education, women, and those areas where there have been progress in Afghanistan?
Well, the first thing is that there has to be peace. And that can only happen if Taliban and the Afghan government, they sit together and there's a political settlement. That has to be the first step. Just my view, I do not think that, the saying that you'd only cross the river once. What was in 2001 is not going to be now the case if and when Taliban and the Afghan government come together, because so much has happened since then. So I think it would be a completely different scenario. But the most important thing right now, and it's not going to be easy, but it is the only option, that the Taliban and the Afghan government sit together. Whenever that happens, it will have turbulence, but it is the only way forward. There is not, and there never was, a military solution in Afghanistan.
Mr. Prime Minister, as you also alluded to and mentioned, you have also initiated initiatives to have Saudis and Iranians de-escalating and trying to establish dialogues. You are able, as a nation, to have pretty good relations, both Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other Gulf states. If you look at the escalation that we have seen lately, some people even talk about this Middle East being at an inflection point, and there is no way back, and there are those that are more optimistic that there will be a de-escalation. You will continue to contribute in that process, and how do you see that unfolding in the year to come after Americans killed General Soleimani and etc.? Is U.S. deterrence back in the region? Are you short-term, medium-term optimistic on de-escalation, or is this something that really keeps you up at night?
Look, let me just, first of all, make a statement. I do not understand why countries go to resolve the differences through military conflicts. Because whenever, and this is just in our lifetime we've seen this, the moment you start a military conflict, you don't know where it is going to go. You can start a conflict, you don't know when it will finish. And then it has unintended consequences. So we have seen in front of our eyes Pakistan joining the US war on terror, and I was the one who was objecting to it. I was openly against it, and I thought Pakistan should have stayed neutral. It should not have become partisan, because Pakistan had nothing to do with 9/11. There were no Pakistanis involved. Al-Qaeda was in Afghanistan. And I remember then President Musharraf telling us, it's only a matter of a few weeks. So 70,000 people dead later, 10 years later, over $100 billion lost to the economy later, finally we realized we had made a mistake. And the US and Afghanistan, 18, 19 years of this war and $1 trillion down the drain. So I do not think this is a way to resolve issues. And the worst thing that could happen is if there's a conflict between Iran and the US and its allies, it'll be a disaster. It'll be a disaster for us, Pakistan, it'll be a disaster. It'll be a disaster for the developing world, because the oil prices will shoot up. Already we are trying to barely manage our budgets and our current account situation. Suddenly everything will be offset. It'll cause poverty in the world. And God knows how long it will go on. So, we in Pakistan pray that this does not happen. We have tried our best. We've already talked to Saudi Arabia, Iran, the United States. I spoke to President Trump yesterday, and I told him that this would be a disaster for us if this war starts.
Did he agree?
He didn't say anything.
You can share with us. It stay in this room.
No, I'm serious. He didn't say anything. But I think I think he understood, because this would be, in my opinion, it'll be insanity, because just Afghanistan is still not resolved, and you know, Iran would even be a bigger problem.
Mr. Prime Minister, you also underlined, coming back to the more domestic opportunities and challenges in your country, this accelerator that we have agreed on skills and upskilling and reskilling between the World Economic Forum and Pakistan. I think there is a huge potential. I think the youth bulge, the youth of Pakistan is a huge opportunity. How important do you think education is in this context, and how do you look at the national curriculum and the madrasas and the importance of teaching world-class math and sciences?
You know, the tragedy of my country, because as I said, I grew up with my country, and in the 60s, Pakistan was the most exciting thing happening in Asia. It was the fastest growing country. We were moving fastest towards industrialization, our universities.
I think your GDP was even higher than India's per capita, wasn't it?
It's certainly, our industrial production was more than the 4 Asian tigers put together: Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. So it was, you know, the fastest growing country. And we lost our way. One was ill-conceived nationalization, which stunted this, this industrial growth. We could have, you know, done what China did. They created wealth, and then they used the wealth to lift the bottom tier of the population. But just because the rich got richer, it didn't mean that we should have stopped, you know, this industrialization by nationalization. We should have just had a more equitable growth. But that was one where we went wrong. And secondly, you know, we just did not pay enough attention to our education system. So we developed this 3-tier education system: English medium for an elite, then there was Urdu medium, which was for the masses, and then there was Dini madrasas. 3 parallel systems going. So what my government is now trying to do is to synthesize the system, get the core issue, the core syllabus should be the same for everyone, and you know, give everyone equal opportunities. The education system actually created the differences, economic differences between people, because people could not go on to the higher class because they were not equipped by the education system. So this is what we are trying to do: change the flaws of education system by synthesizing it.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I see that time is out. I would have liked to continue this conversation. I think we're all very impressed with the reform agenda. We're seeing economic growth is being back. We see the foreign direct investments are there. So thank you for sharing this with the community.
Well, economic growth is still coming, hopefully this year. The economy has stabilized. The growth is the second thing. As I said, I have never been insulted so much. Not insulted is not the word, but lacerated by the media, the way the media has attacked me because of the stabilization program. But this now, 2020, is the year we want to lift our growth rate and provide jobs to our young people.
And I think you can also rely on the Davos community when it comes to supporting your agenda for reforms in your country, so you get back growth and a more inclusive growth. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister.